Well, welcome back. Senate Republicans blocking a measure to fund the government and suspend the debt ceiling. As it stands, government funding expires at midnight on Thursday night. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen warning the U.S. could default on its bills as early as next month. Republican lawmakers telling Democrats they should take care of the debt limit themselves since they want to spend trillions of additional dollars with no input from Republicans. Joining me right now, Americans for Tax Reform President Grover Norquist. Grover, great to see you. Thanks very much for being here. Your thoughts on this moment in time? I think we've been here before with the markets worried about the government running out of money, and there's no chance lawmakers are going to let the country default. But this is a moment in time where there's real uncertainty. Your thoughts?
Well, I would argue it's a moment of complete clarity. The Democrats have control of the Senate. They have control of the House. They have the White House. They can increase the debt ceiling inside reconciliation all by themselves. They don't need a single Republican vote. So this idea that the Republicans are stopping anything is a joke. What the Democrats don't want to do is what you've normally done in the past, negotiate with the other party. That's how we got Graham-Rudman, which reduced some spending back in the 80s. It's how we got the sequester and saved almost $1 trillion in overspending during Obama. Biden wants to spend another $3 or $5 trillion. He doesn't want to have any restraint, so he doesn't want to negotiate with the Republicans. Okay, but he needs to own that. He's lying to the American people if he says, I can't do this because the Republicans won't let me. The Republicans won't let him raise the debt ceiling unless he comes to the table on coming to grips with this massive overspending. And you're seeing the inflation that may be part of that. He doesn't want to do that. That's what but there's complete clarity as to what's happening. The Republicans want to restrain spending. The Democrats want no restraint on the spending.
Well, it seems that most people are expecting the infrastructure bill to pass on Thursday. I just want to point out, though, that there are tax increases in the infrastructure plan. There is a tax on crypto. There is an additional tax elsewhere. But the taxes in the reconciliation plan are significant to a broad swath of people. Walk us through what you're expecting in terms of tax increases should they get that reconciliation package through.
The president's plan is a little different from the House plan, a little different from the Senate, so they move around. But bottom line is they're trying to raise $3.5 trillion in taxes. And the way they do that is $1 trillion comes from corporations. OK, well, actually, corporations collect the $1 trillion from workers and from consumers and give it to the government. But $1 trillion from C corporations. $1 trillion from pass-throughs, smaller businesses, family businesses, exactly the people Biden tells you he's never going to tax. Then you have $700 billion roughly that they're going to extort by importing European price controls onto our pharmaceutical industry, which means you won't get as many good drugs as quickly. And then $600 billion or so, which they make up and say, you know, when you spend money like crazy, it really helps the economy. Let's imagine that would bring in another $600 or so billion dollars of additional spending. Then there's about $300 billion of other stuff. They want to tax cigarette smokers who do not make $400,000 a year. That's the other Biden misstatement during the campaign. He is going hammer and tooth after the middle class. Even the government admits that somewhere between a quarter and a third or more of the corporate income tax is directly paid by workers in lower wages. These are government liberal statistics. It's actually probably closer to 50 or 70%. The corporate income tax is a tax on wages, and reducing your wages. It's going to be brutal. $1 trillion out of corporations, $1 trillion out of pass-throughs, and a whole bunch of money. They're taxing vapors who want to quit smoking because they want that money from you on the cigarette tax. They don't want you vaping. It's a mess, and it's lousy for the economy.
And Kevin Brady, the ranking member on House Ways and Means, told me this weekend that, yes, they are breaking their pledge to raise taxes on lower earners. There's also a lot of hidden spending in order to pay for it. They're going to raise taxes to pay for this kind of spending. The Build Back Better plan includes $3 billion for tree planting and tree equity, Grover. We don't know what half of this stuff is, but I also want to get into the ideas on banks and how President Biden wants a rule for banks to pretty much have transparency in people's bank accounts and report all flows $600 or more in transactions. Now, right now, that's not in the bill, but they still want to raise $80 billion, spend $80 billion to hire 80,000 new auditors. So what are they going to be doing? They're going to be investigating people's accounts and wanting to know what money they deposit, what money they withdraw. This is a serious intrusion into people's lives.
Biden says those auditors, the 87,000 roughly, new auditors, new hall monitors, are going to go around and only bother rich people. That's what he says. But the IRS says something different and has for months. They intend to ramp up their audits of small businesses, the people who can't afford to have the IRS go after them. They have to say, OK, tell me what you want. Keep it. It's less expensive than lawyers. I can't get bankrupted by the IRS harassing me. So they're very easy to shake down and get them to bring in money. They act as if they've backed off this, monitoring your Venmo and PayPal and so on for $600. What they now said is if you move $10,000 in or out of your bank account over the course of a year, average rent in this country is about $1,000 a month. So right there, if you're paying rent, you're under the microscope. They're going to want to look at you. They want access. There would be no meaningful financial privacy for individuals or businesses if this goes through. The IRS can go and look at your stuff. And once they've decided that they want to look at all the transactions, what stops them from looking at who it goes to? Who did you write the check to? What are you buying? What are you renting?
Yeah.
And we know the IRS leaks like a sieve and does not punish the people who have handed out the private tax data only recently to left-wing groups like ProPublica.
Wow. Yeah, and they want to do it so that they could raise money to put the SALT deduction back in. I mean, that is so backwards. You're basically zeroing in on regular folks so that you could get this tax break for the richest people in New York and New Jersey with the SALT deduction. Grover, we'll keep watching this. It's great to get your take on all of this always. Thank you, sir.